It's official. The Chicago Bears have officially hired offensive coordinator Declan Doyle. The guy who has worked underneath Sean Payton for 5+ years, a young, bright, up and coming, offensive minded coach to work underneath Ben Johnson. This is a young, not only is he a young, bright offensive mind, though, but he's apparently going to become the youngest offensive coordinator in the NFL. He went to college at Iowa and got his start as a graduate assistant under Kirk Ferentz. Sean, it was Sean Payton who took a liking to him and hired him with the Saints and then took him with him to Denver. So this is a guy who's worked with Sean Payton his entire career in the NFL. I'll take your guys' questions about our new offensive coordinator. There is a rumor going around in an article on Clutch Points that says he is Mike Ditka's nephew. At this point, I cannot confirm that other than finding a Clutch Points article. And if you Google it, it currently does say that. But I don't know what to say about that. I do not believe he's related to Mike Ditka, but we'll find out soon enough, as always. But it is confirmed he is not an actor. This is our new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, coming over from the Denver Broncos. And then second up, also, if you guys missed it, the Chicago Bears have also officially hired Dennis Allen to be the defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen brings veteran leadership and experience to this defense. I expect him to restore the aggression on our defensive side of the ball. If I had to guess, I would say less soft coverages, no defensive tackles coverage, no defensive tackles covering tight ends, and no corny hits philosophies. Also, developing news here, guys. It sounds like I can't talk. It sounds like Richard Hightower is also going to be returning to the Chicago Bears as our special teams coordinator. I loved Richard Hightower's work. I gave him special kudos. If you guys remember that return against the Green Bay Packers, it was the punt return where he faked to one side and then had the returner go the other way. It paid homage to a Devin Hester and Johnny Knox return from our Super Bowl run in that era of Chicago Bears. So I love Hightower's work. Good to see him coming back. I thought our special teams played okay. He's a veteran special teams coordinator. That one is not official as of yet. But all right, let me go ahead and take some questions, see what you guys are talking about in the chat. But we have a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, and also, if you missed that as well, we have a new quarterback coach, JT Barrett, a new defensive back coach and passing game coordinator, Al Harris, and an assistant head coach and wide receivers coach, Antoine Randall L. Really, the only major positions to fill are our offensive line coach and D-line coach. We're also need, of course, like a tight end coach, a defensive back coach, linebackers coach. But those are more minor roles. And really, what I wanted to talk about here was the offensive coordinator. This guy is Declan Doyle. He had no we have some kind of news. Will Al Harris take care of linebackers too? Probably not. I'm going to go probably not on that one. Apparently, there was no Wikipedia connecting Declan Doyle to Mike Ditka, but I do see a Clutch Points article about it. That's the only thing I could see on it. I don't know if that's true. He doesn't look like Ditka, and I believe if he was Ditka's nephew, we would have heard about it before. So far, I love the coaching staff, Jason. Great question. But the biggest thing right now is our offensive coordinator. And I know a lot of people are disappointed. People apparently thought David Shaw was going to be the new OC. I thought David Shaw was my favorite candidate for the job, but I did not believe that he was going to be the guy to get the job. Part of the reason is I don't believe our offensive coordinator job is that coveted. Some of the other roles on this coaching staff are very coveted, and Ben Johnson has proven that and been able to get quality coaches. But when it comes to an offensive coordinator, kind of what you need when you have because if you think about it, Ben Johnson is our offensive coordinator. He's the guy that's going to be calling plays. He's going to be the guy running this offense because Dennis Allen's going to run the defense. Ben Johnson's running the offense. So whoever the offensive coordinator is kind of just a young guy that you want to be on the staff. And this is a bright, young, offensive-minded coach that Sean Payton took a liking to. And if there is any truth to him being related to Mike Ditka, then it's a huge win either way. Duh Bears. That's all it is. But Dennis Allen is officially our defensive coordinator. I dropped a video on that and what he brings to the Chicago Bears defense and why it's such a great hire. I had that one ready because I broke the news 24 hours ago. So Dennis Allen is our new defensive coordinator. New offensive coordinator now is Declan Doyle. He comes over from the Denver Broncos. A little bit of a background on him. He was a tight end coach for the Broncos for the last 2 seasons. But he started with Sean Payton. He got his initial start after he went to college at Iowa. He started off as a graduate assistant there under Kirk Ferentz, and then it was Sean Payton who brought him to New Orleans and then took him to Denver with him. So he's a guy who kept with him and a guy that he clearly respected. Sean Payton is a Super Bowl winning coach, and we could see the work Sean Payton did with a young quarterback in Denver. He got production out of Bo Nix. So I honestly wasn't expecting a huge hire for the OC, but this is a guy who's young, he's offensive minded, he's up and coming. Now the next move really is who is going to be the O-line. Our O-line coach is now the biggest one. Oh, we got a super chat here from my mijo, Emilio. He says, what in tarnation is going on here? Is Ben the Pin Johnson cooking with these hires? And when you look at this coaching staff, listen, my guy, I got to say yes, man. So far, he's cooking. And I think some people will be disappointed that David Shaw is not the offensive coordinator. But I'll say this about David Shaw. He was definitely, by far, the biggest and best candidate on the list. The problem is David Shaw is a guy who's accomplished so much in the NFL already. Why would he want to come here and not call plays? It was a tough one, and I just didn't see the allure of why he would want to do it, especially when you also don't want too many chefs in the kitchen. When you're developing a quarterback, and this is something I think a lot of people overrate, and a lot of people are, oh, we really need a good OC. We really need a good OC. And I'm like, listen, Ben Johnson is our offensive coordinator. And right now, the number one most important relationship on our entire roster is our head coach and our quarterback. Those guys have to communicate. They have to come together well, and they have to get along. So bringing in David Shaw, if you bring him in underneath Ben Johnson, he's got more experience than Ben Johnson. Do you really want another guy in there questioning and causing him? You don't want anything getting in between the relationship of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. Now, that being said, I would have been very happy if David Shaw got the job because I don't think that's something he would have done. He's very respected. He's a veteran. He's been around the NFL a long time. And he had a lot of success working with Andrew Luck. So I don't think that would have been a question. But at the end of the day, our offensive coordinator job was not highly coveted due to the simple fact that we hired an offensive-minded head coach. So Ben Johnson, basically in all retrospect, is our offensive coordinator. He's going to be the guy calling the plays. He's going to be the guy running the offense. Let me see. Take some questions here. Who should be targets for O-line coach? That one's tough. Here's what another thing people don't understand. We can't, unless we were hiring him as our OC, we can't just take another team's offensive line coach because they're already an offensive line coach with another team. Unless you're promoting them, you can't hire them. So we're going to either have to take another young guy to develop or find a veteran offensive line coach or even dip into the college game here as well. You could go down to the college ranks as well or take on a guy who maybe took a year off of football or something. But I do expect that to be announced in the next 24 hours. I think they have it narrowed down. They probably know who it is. The problem is when you're putting together your coaching staff, you assemble them from the top down. And I will talk really briefly about the Rooney Rule here because I plan on making a video on this to cover it a little bit more in depth. But one of the reasons why Dennis Allen to the Bears wasn't announced yet is it happened with the Cowboys. It leaked onto Twitter and everything that they were hiring Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator. And that's the guy they're hiring. They're hiring Flus to run that DC. But guess what? They didn't take care of the interviews for the Rooney Rule, and that messed everything up. And now they look dumb because they just announced after 24 hours after it leaked out that Matt Eberflus was going to be the DC of the Cowboys. Now you have Adam Schefter reporting today that the Cowboys are interviewing someone else. And that's not what the Rooney Rule is designed to do. You don't want people just getting interviews when the job has already been decided. So that was a big thing, and maybe the biggest reason on why Dennis Allen was not announced yet as a defensive coordinator until tonight, because you don't want situations like that happening. But it was a done deal. He is our defensive coordinator, and that's probably the biggest move after the Ben Johnson hire. That's by far the biggest move. But now it comes down to our offense, and now we have a young guy on this offense to come in and work underneath Ben Johnson. And this is something I haven't thought about probably in my entire life as a Bears fan, right? If Ben Johnson really is what everyone in the NFL and what I think he could be, if he's one of those coaches that sticks around and has a ton of success and is winning, he could have a coaching tree develop underneath him. And that's why you want to bring in young guys like this, like a Declan Doyle that could someday move on and be hired or promoted by another team. And that goes to show you also that Ben Johnson is looking to develop not only players, but coaches as well. So overall, I'm happy with this hire. I'm honestly, I think our offensive coordinator, I don't want to take a shot at him, but I kind of think they're basically like a glorified clipboard holder. They're going to be in meetings and there's a lot of things they're going to do, but on game days, they're not calling plays. Pretty much like Matt Nagy in Kansas City. They're just over there hyping the team up and stuff, you know. They're not, they might be in the coach's ear talking to the quarterbacks. There are things they do. I'm not trying to belittle it at all, but I'm just saying our offensive coordinator is Ben Johnson. He is the guy running this offense. So I don't want fans to get upset that we didn't get David Shaw or a big name. I think and that's why I talked all along that the biggest hire of this entire process is our defensive coordinator. And we hit an absolute home run with that. I don't believe there was a better defensive coordinator on the entire market than Dennis Allen. And someone in the chat asked, how long do you think Dennis Allen will be here? I did talk about that in the video I released probably just an hour ago. Honestly, that video just came out, and then we hired an offensive coordinator as well. Excuse me. Let me see. I'm reading this other question. Okay. Everybody since beating. Okay. How long? I think he's a guy. Back to the initial question. I think he's a guy who could be our defensive coordinator for a long time. He's already been a head coach twice. He failed at both of his head coaching stops. And I don't know if he has the desire to be a head coach again. Obviously, if the Bears turn things around and start winning here, then he is a guy who could get some looks as a head coach again. I thought his first 2 years in New Orleans didn't go as bad as people expected, as people are making it out to be. People are talking like he was just really bad in New Orleans. That wasn't the case. They were pretty good the first 2 years, and then they had a lot of injuries this year, and that team is just really bad in the salary cap. So huge hiring by Dennis Allen. But the big news now is our coaching staff is almost filled out. We have our offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, for those who joined late. He was the Broncos tight ends coach, close relation very close relation with Sean Payton. Sean Payton is very high on him. I read multiple quotes on the internet where Sean Payton really likes this guy and thinks highly of him. That's our new offensive coordinator. Rumors are, this one's not official yet, is that Richard Hightower is going to return and be our special teams coordinator again. And then the other news had already broke. Antoine Randall L to be our assistant head coach and wide receiver coach. Al Harris to be the defensive back coach and passing game coordinator. And then QB coach JT Barrett. I think pretty much Ben Johnson is putting together potentially an all-star staff of coaches here, guys. I love what is happening here, and this gets me excited not only for the season, but the future of this franchise. He's equipped. He's pretty much assembling one of the better staffs we've had in ever in my life as a Bears fan. So this is huge news, guys. I'm big on this one. The offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, it's a young, up and coming offensive mind. And if Sean Payton thinks highly of him, who am I to question Sean Payton? The guy that's won Super Bowls, done work, and he's also had a lot of success with a rookie quarterback this year in Bo Nix. Something else that gets kind of overlooked. The Broncos had a pretty good season. And Bo Nix is a quarterback that he had a ton of experience in college, but I was not super high on him. But I appreciate, guys, I broke the Dennis Allen news to the Bears yesterday, and now it is officially official. I waited to go live on this one. The Kansas City Chiefs and Bills game was on. I was kind of watching that. I see Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift dancing on my TV. I don't want to see that. Well, now they're showing their shirts, but I honestly was rooting against the Chiefs. But now that things transpired the way they did, I will now root for the Chiefs to get the three-peat, because we haven't seen a three-peat in any sport since Michael Jordan did it. And honestly, I'm not a fan of the Eagles. As far as Mike Ditka's nephew, there was an article. If you Google it right now, if you type into Google, is Declan Doyle related to Mike Ditka? It says that Doyle is the nephew of NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl winning head coach Mike Ditka, and it links a article from clutchpoints.com on here. And in that article, it says again that Doyle is the nephew of former Bears head coach Mike Ditka. It's also on the Wikipedia page, which can be edited. So I don't believe that. And so far, I don't know if that one's true. I got to say, guys, that one could be completely false. I haven't heard it anywhere else. And if Clutch Points is the only source, I would have to be hesitant to believe anything on that. Let's wait until we hear it from Mike Ditka or Declan Doyle himself. But if he is, that would be huge. Imagine we get our Super Bowl winning head coach from 1985, the Bears, and we get his nephew to run our offense underneath Ben Johnson. That would be crazy. Now, but that's what I'm saying. It's entertaining. It's something that I definitely wanted to address in case it is real. There's nothing out there that I Googled that says he's not the nephew of Mike Ditka. So I couldn't find anything that says he's not. But so far, the only thing saying he is if you Google it. Yes, it does say on Google. If you type it into Google, Google will pop up with its new AI features and say that he is the nephew. And I've screenshotted it just in case anyone questions that later. But it definitely says right now that Declan Doyle is the nephew of Mike Ditka. But that could be just pulling from that Clutch Points article. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from, but if he is, that is huge. That is huge, 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 huge. And I mean, honestly, that would be probably the coolest coaching hire that we could even imagine. And if that's true, if Declan Doyle is the nephew of Mike Ditka, I would put him above David Shaw just for the just for having Mike Ditka's a young someone related to Mike Ditka on this coaching staff and being able to work underneath Ben Johnson. I'm excited by it all. If ChatGPT says you're Ditka's nephew, you are Ditka's nephew. I love it, guys. I appreciate everyone. Any final questions? Well, actually, we're going to go. We had an awesome one, guys. New offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. New defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen. I just released a video just an hour ago on what Dennis Allen brings to the Bears and why it's such an important hire. Check that out if you missed it, because it's not likely to get recommended on YouTube, because I'm dropping like 3 videos in a 2-hour span and have this live show. So go check that one out, guys, for more on Dennis Allen. I just released that video. And then I also released a video on Ben Johnson and how he wanted to come to Chicago. It was big. Ben Johnson wanted to come to the Bears. If you watch this after I'm live, I'll have those videos pop up on the screen here at the end. I appreciate you guys. That's about it. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for more content. And until next time, bear down.